What's up, y'all? This is Rom coming back at you with yet another car video. I got an early start in learning sexual dynamics. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what. I noticed one thing, cause anytime I do any videos, I got and I explicitly cover something about sex, I always get the most dislikes. A lot of people can't handle that. A lot of people can't handle real talk about sexual dynamics. They need to grow the fuck up. They need, because that's a big problem out here with the discussion of relationships. Because people want to, act like everything's all social and everything, and there are social dynamics, but, if you ain't discussing the sexual dynamics, you ain't gonna understand what's going on, because until there's a real discussion about sexual dynamics, and not just minor, and got to get the academics, everything. You're going to have children being molested. You're going to have family members molesting them. You're going to have sex trafficking. You're going to have teachers, male and female, sleeping with their students. You're going to have ministers and priests having sex. You're going to have paternity fraud. Yeah. Got to get something to eat. You're going to have all this stuff because it's all happening. It's all happening. It's part of the shadow world. And I'm going to tell you what. I was thinking about it today. I'll just say the day stands out to me for a particular reason. I ain't going to share the exact reason. That's none of your fucking business. Don't ask. But it just stands out to me. Because I thought about where I really learned sexual dynamics. I didn't learn, and I've told people, I learned this back in the 70s. I learned real sexual dynamics back in the 70s. We didn't have internet. We didn't have internet. You had to learn that shit in the streets, a real way, a man's way. Yeah, I said it just like that. But even deeper than that was just the environment. Because there's, talking with people and all of that, maybe seeing some stuff, but actually being in a very sexualized environment. Now, I say it publicly several times. Me and my sister were removed from my mother's custody when I was 10 years old. That's why on several different videos, I always announce my grandmother or say my grandmother, because it was her decision to keep us out of foster care. She took it upon herself to raise us. She was technically my foster mother because of the situation coming out of. And I've shared a little bit about it before, but let's just say my mother, she was mentally ill. She was mentally ill. And we were living in Southeast, even though my grandmother owned the house that she was living in. My mother, she wasn't discerning about who she hung around. So early in life, it wasn't even so much it was a poor neighborhood, but just being around the dregs of society, the lumpen proletariat, being in an environment that produces sex workers, being in an environment that, like that YouTube channel, Soft White Underbelly, would provide that dude like content for 5 years just out of that one neighborhood. Wait a minute. It was just the reality of just being in that environment. It was a very sexualized environment. And particularly in the home, because one of the reasons we were removed because of my mother's associates. I remember talking with the cops and social workers. And they were always asking about, were they walking around naked and all of that? Because the two main culprits were these two young ladies, my mother, teenagers. I didn't know they were teenagers. They were older than me. Who she had a lesbian couple. Well, actually, I didn't know they were a lesbian couple. I found that out afterwards and stuff. I found that out afterwards. But they were a lesbian couple, and apparently bisexual, because I did walk in on the butch lesbian having sex with this dude on my bed. I ain't share that with the cops and social workers. Well, one of them, the other one, the female in the group, she would walk around just in her underwear and shit. And had some other interesting people. And then, had those street players coming through. Mother even dealt with some of them. And it was, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Yeah. It makes me a light sleeper to this day. But it was, you saw, it was like heavily sexualized though. And then just outside of that, just being in that neighborhood in Anacostia, you just saw how people really got down, how they interacted and everything. Very dysfunctional overall environment, extremely dysfunctional and stuff. Like, the closest I've seen to it ever shown on TV or something, closest I've seen was The Wire. I was looking at stuff on The Wire, I was like, yeah. And that's just the closest. They ain't get deep into it. But, just being around just in the neighborhood, the sexualized, like, nursery rhymes, we would say. Oh, man. And anybody who's been in that environment, unless they were totally sheltered, they experienced it. Now, we did have some kids in that environment. Their parents just didn't let them go outside. Good or bad, hey, that's what it was. But you learn sexual dynamics. I learned sexual dynamics. You learn how women really roll. You learn how the players, the men who's successful with women, how they really roll. And I'm gonna tell you what, a lot of this shit called game or dating coaches or whatever said online, man, some kindergarten ass shit. They don't get deep into the real nature of just dynamics. It's some social shit, but they don't get into the deeper sexual dark aspects of it, the predatory aspects of it, and it's like one of those things you really need to just see. And I was thinking about that. So you seeing this, I hadn't even officially reached puberty, even sex. I told you my first real sexual experience was at 10 and stuff. But first time I saw young girl's vagina playing, we playing like tag and all that. I'm it, so I'm chasing the group, and this little 8-year-old, like I'm 8, she 8, she running along. She told everybody to move ahead, and she just showed me the pussy. I ain't doing anything. We out in the open, but seen some other stuff. In fact, my best buddy then, watched him getting down with an older girl. Man, watched how he moved. Yeah, with his fingers and shit. I was like, God damn. Last time I saw him, though, it was when I was working with this diagnostic probation office, and the officer I was working with, that was the internship officer I worked with, she had to interview him for pre-sentencing. He had just, convicted of murder. And I was about to go in with her to interview him, but she said, hold up, nah, why don't you just sit out here? Why don't you sit out here? Because we don't want to judge. We don't want to say there's any bias or something. They might try to say you had some bias against him. So, but he had just killed somebody, ironically, over a relationship issue. Somebody him and his boy were jealous of. But he was an interesting cat. He was an interesting cat. God forgive his soul. But I'm gonna tell you what though. You see seeing the dark side, and what it is just real human dynamics. You just see real, not this fake shit. A lot of people on some fake shit, or they on that social shit, or that middle class illusion. I'm gonna try to say it like that, because that's where you see the real world. That's why I said, if you really want to be red pilled, sell all your shit and move to a poor neighborhood. Sell all your shit and move to a poor neighborhood. Get into that predatory environment, because that's what it is at that level, and especially sexually. That's where you see it at its most raw. It's not an accident that you get many pimps, players, and MACKs that come out of that environment. Because, and really, is also where you understand women really control the game. Now, I know some guys don't want to hear that shit, but they really don't understand it. They think they're in control of something, but the way women are running, they let the man think whatever. It's like that, I think that woman, Esther, I can't think of her last name, but she wrote that book, The Manipulated Man. She broke the game down. She broke the real game down. And honestly, the only thing a true player, pimp, MACK will do is just turn it on to women. You know? Even that thing about choosing and everything. I said in my book, Nice Guys and Players, women choose. Now, people want to argue with the, no choosing. No. That women already knew. In fact, I think it was in The Manipulated Man. I think it was there. I had a PDF of that. I gotta go through my flash drives. But I think she said this quote. If it wasn't her, it's still a appropriate quote. A man chases a woman until she catches him. Hell, Malcolm X said that in the autobiography of Malcolm X. He said he thought he had control and everything over getting bad. He thought he was running shit, and then once they got married, they had the reception, and her and her girlfriend is talking about she got it. Trust me. You might think you cold approaching a woman or something, but she saw you from a ways back. So you just got to understand it. Your only power really is just choosing her back. But they already know. But see, a lot of dudes, they be on some stuff, and really how a lot of dudes get played. They get played because a woman will let him think he's running something, you know, or got control over it. And he don't. She'll let him think he doing something, but she already knew what she gonna do with him. I remember I told a woman that one time, because I had tried that online thing back in the day. Met this woman, and she was all this, you know, she trying to run that game, and I just looked at her. I just said, look, you already know if you want to fuck me or not. When you want me to come over your place? She stopped us saying all the bullshit she was saying, looked at me, and she gave me a time and date. I was like, okay. But I already know all that just from human interactions, man, because even those people who try to say, oh, you old and all that, and these are some, like I said, they some virgins, and they stupid. You see, I'm gonna tell you what, the whole game, everything come down to human interaction. All this stuff like social media, money, status, those are outside things. Those things change. Human beings themselves haven't changed in millennia, several millennia. Behavior hasn't changed. Really, you probably have to go back to the last age to find when it's really changed. And you've had some societies that were able to elevate it, but most human behavior is at the same level. And see, once you understand that, once you understand human behavior, human reactions, then if you want to be getting women and you apply that, you can go any place on the planet. That's why I said one time to somebody in a comment, responded to a comment, I said, if you have sex with one woman, you can have sex with 100. All you have to do is repeat the behavior. Because that's all it is. That's why I ignore all this outer stuff. People be talking about, like when people be talking about these general issues with dating, and they be talking about social media, and they be talking about money and all of that. Shoot, even though I promote body game, even talking about physical appearance, it still comes down to how people going to interact. Now, all that stuff could play a part, but it comes down to, okay, how do you interact? And how they going to interact? How humans going to generally behave? You know? If you understand the basics of human behavior, and particularly the basics of female behavior, you shouldn't have a problem. That's why I call bullshit on like people want to call themselves red pill. I really do. They think they know something. Okay, if you know something, then you should have power to like use it to your advantage. If you truly know a woman's nature, you should be able to use it to your advantage. You should have the women lined up. Because I learned that shit like I said, I learned that shit early in life. And I ain't unique. Because that's where you get, because that environment I came out of, that's where you get, that's where those sex workers come out of. That's where those pimps come out of. Shoot. That's where those con artists come out of. True grifters. Not some like YouTuber or something that's saying whatever. People call them that. Say, no. Those true like street hustlers and stuff like that, please. They on something else. They on something else, way more sophisticated. You know, the true players on something else. You know, and pimps, they pretty much the same thing, but only difference between a player and a pimp. The player just focus on the pussy, the pimp focus on the money. You know, and the MACK can just get it all. But they just understand it coming down to human nature, being able to read it. That's why I said, I can't say anytime I've been seriously played. Now, some minor shit, but it's kind of like this even with that. It's kind of like this. One time I think I was played, I was really playing myself. So that wasn't even on anything she did. I was playing myself. Because one weakness I had coming up was hoping. Like so-called regular society wasn't as fucked up. But it's just, a lot of shit is just masking what's really there. But when you see the mask, when you see past the mask, oh, shoot, that's power. Because even people's faces, people have two faces. A social face and a sexual face. The social face is what they show everybody. The sexual face is their real face, their true nature. And let me say something about sexual dynamics. It's not even just about actual physical sex. It's just how men and women interact with each other. How they interact. Because there's always a sexual dynamic. Always. When men and women interact. Always. Because even if it's brief, the possibility of sexes are always there. If there's even just a little bit of arousal, or even no arousal, that's still sexual in nature. Now, a lot of people try to fight against that. They don't like it, but they don't understand it. See, one of the things, you get a lot of people, they growing up, people like using that term, the matrix, but the whole social thing is a matrix. Like, okay, like that money and status thing. I always insist, if you make money, make it for yourself. You know, you got some people saying, oh, the women want the status. No, if they go for the status and all of that, that's on the surface. Because something else you got to talk about and you can really understand is how women cheat. That's something I learned. That's something I learned early, because I got schooled by some older women even after I was no longer living in Southeast. I got schooled. They were dropping knowledge. Grandma was made, she was dropping knowledge just to make sure I ain't get played. Then had other surrogate mothers dropping knowledge to make sure I didn't get played. And then in my book, Nice Guys and Players, I talk about Jim. That's a real person. He came from a similar background. That's how he knew. And so that's how we know. See, we dealing with the reality out there. And you know, I was talking about that, adding that, understanding about how women cheat. They broke it down. Like if a woman cheats, she can cheat in such a way a man never suspects anything unless she wants to be caught. Like a man get caught easily, but a woman, she can go a lifetime. She can go to a grave and not get caught. That's their game. I know when I got women I'm cool with now. They can tell me. I know more about them than their husbands do. And it's just a reality. In fact, sometimes I'll meet somebody and they might think they're getting over, and I'm just like, I'll say, okay, we're going to do that? All right, I'm going to let you go. Because I'm going to tell you something about me. I'm one of those people think they might be cool with me, even some people who comment. I'm that type, I just give you a rope until you hang yourself. Because part of the game is learning how to fit in. And then also learning how to disappear. You know, it's funny. When I was in Southeast, not just learning sexual dynamics, but learn some lessons from some of the older dudes in the neighborhood. Like one dude, that dude was like a real American ninja. That dude could show you how to hide in plain sight. Like, seriously. And you'd be like, how the hell they can't see us right here? People think I'm exaggerating, seriously. He'd tell you how to hide, just little things. Like if you playing chase or something, here's just a brief example. Like you playing chase, we had car lots in the neighborhood. We'd run, but hide beside a car, but we would put our legs by the wheel. So if somebody looked under there and looking for the feet, they wouldn't see anything. Yeah, just a little small thing. You had to learn how to duck people. And something else also too, man. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Not even just a sexual thing. You learn how to spot the predators. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. Somebody who got some real street came out that environment. They see me right away. They see me right away because they understand. But you get some motherfuckers who didn't grow up in that same type of environment. They can't see me. They can't relate. They don't understand. Because they didn't. They grew up, I mean, let's just be real. Most people grow up in a more sanitized environment no matter what's going on. And people playing the game. Yes, go work. Go to church. Go to school. Get those good grades. Be that goody-goody guy. Be that goody-goody girl. But once you get past that mask, you see what they really are. When I've talked about the sexual shadow world, all it is where women are free. And the only way to get in, because the guys, they say, well, how can I get in? Where can I find it? You got to show that you're free. And here's the thing. You can't get in there. Because women choose in general anyway, but definitely the only way you get in is if a woman lets you in. Some dudes don't like that, but it is what it is. And they'll say, well, I don't have any power. Well, you got power over your own life. But you got to deal with the reality. And I'm going to tell you what, everything happening with relationships now, only thing that's really happening is the social thing. The social mask are crumbling. Yeah, it used to be on that social level. You just had that, you were willing to provide, and you had that nice job, education, you can get a woman. Yeah, but I'm going to tell you what, even back then, people thought it was good. They were cheating like shit, man. They were cheating like shit. Talked to a lot of elders. They were getting down. They were doing some shit. It went all peaches and cream. Everybody tried. That's that little Ozzie and Harriet fantasy and shit. That was some bullshit, man. They were getting down. Anybody who think it was normal, well, I would tell you what. Anybody think it was, well, shit. You can't say double back, but do some DNA tests. If you got any your older parents still alive, ask them to do a DNA test between them. You ask your grandparents to take a DNA test with you and your parents. There's a lot of stuff. Because that underwire, that undergirth, that sexual dynamics, I know just from talking with male that's been around since at least the 20s, which means it was around before then. It's always been there. Because the sexual thing, sex is always going to be there. But what happens is with different cultures, they'll try to mask it. They'll say, hey, you got to be this. So they'll have the mask, right? They'll have a mask, but then they'll have the reality. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of stuff happening, And I just saw it straight up. And like I was saying earlier, if you talk about the sex workers and types like that, they'll come from like those environments. That's why they cold-blooded. In fact, I got a video coming next week that addresses female sex workers and why it's not a good thing for men to fuck with. Why it's not a good thing. Because people think it's all nice and everything. Those are predators. And they got disdain for you. They got disdain. So it's like, And, you know, everything I share is really just to try to help you out as much. Now, this ain't saying it's a bad thing, because it's, you know what it is? Good and bad, good and evil is relative. With the fox going into the hen house, it's a bad thing for the hens, but a good thing for the fox. And if the fox is prevented from going into that hen house, it's a bad thing for the fox and good for the hens. Now, for people who aren't astute enough to understand the analogy, it depends on where you at. Because, yeah, it was a jacked up environment, but I'm going to be real. It actually helped me survive. Because, I mean, you had dudes would get stuck up around there. I know at least a couple dudes, man, they got raped. They got raped. You know? So you're around there, you learn how to see past all the bullshit, to see right through somebody. In fact, people have told me, who've been in my presence, they say, look like you're looking right through me. I know what to look for. Indeed, and that's some of the stuff I haven't shared fully. Like, just reading it. It's like a lot of players, true players, dudes really successful with women, they can read women real well. And they can read which women are going to be receptive, which ones aren't. And they can also know, okay, I can push this button to get what I want. You know, even in breakups sometimes. A lot of times a true player, she might think she's leaving him, but he's specifically done something to leave her. Because one thing about the true player, they understand women really, they really control the game. So what they do, what the pimps do, ask a pimp. Shit, hit up Pimp God, he'll let you know. Shit. Rest in peace, Sinful P. He might have said something. Hit up a real pimp. They just turn the shit around. They understand it. They respect what women are doing. They respect what they're doing. They respect their nature, but then they just turn it around for their own purposes. You know? And it's understand. And then look, here's the thing though. Understand, it all comes down to human nature. Human nature. Like these cars, all this technology. Let's just be real. Human nature hasn't improved. Yeah, we can communicate right away and all of that. Human nature really hasn't improved. It's just because the negative stuff, it's been harder to suppress it. But see, here's the problem. You can't truly suppress a lot of things, right? You really can't suppress a lot of things. Because if you suppress something, it's going to come out. It's just a question of when and where. And that's all that's happening. It's the same human nature. This human nature, like the things I've saw, okay, in 2023, the things I see, human behavior, really hasn't changed since, really hasn't changed overall since 1973. Now, yeah, on the surface, it looked like it might have changed, but no. Only thing that's different now is out in the open. It's harder to suppress. The sexual thing especially. Women ain't suppressing their sexuality like they used to. You know? Shit, when I was young, you know, a lot of women, particularly white women, they used to wear those girdles. They used to like pull that shit in. All of a sudden now, boom, they ain't doing that like they were. In fact, now you got these women, shoot, they squatting, doing all that stuff in the gym. Shoot, they trying to blow that ass out. And shoot, that gets into a whole other thing, really. You know, the whole sexual thing, how women present themselves. It's always been there. They just public about it now. So, I saw, you know, I just learned that true nature, that true thing. And see, it's like really ahead of the curve. And it's no different. Sexual nature hasn't changed. A lot of people can't deal with it. They ain't on the illusion. And I'm gonna tell you what, you rather see the reality anyway. Because if you want to stick to the illusion, you might can find a woman. But then when that baby come out and don't look shit like you, or you find out, yeah, you thought everything was good, yeah, you were like, yeah, I'm a provider. I provided this house, I provided this car. But, you know, she got an interesting habit. when she go to the store, she takes 2 hours to buy 5 things. And the store is just 3 blocks away. You know? Or it's like you out walking with her or something, it seems like all these guys know her. You know? And, you know, it's just all these things, like everything I share. Oh, like yesterday I talked about very attractive women having low counts. Look, here's the thing with that. Here's the reality. The game of the woman is to manipulate a man, get everything out of, get his money without giving up the pussy. While the man's game is to get the pussy without giving up the money. The reality is a very attractive woman can get everything out of you without doing shit. So, that's the thing. That is the thing. All right? That's the thing. That's how it is. So they can have, and that's just knowing the human dynamic that I learned very early in life. Now you got some guys who are trying to go against that, right? They don't really know. If I challenge them, say, how many attractive women have you known in life? Like really attractive. Like they could be on IG. How many have you known? Not seen, not watched, not speculated about. How many have you known personally? Because that's something else too. The number of women I've encountered, like conversations with on different levels, shit, well into the thousands. Probably into 5 figures on different levels. And no, let me be very clear. I ain't saying I had sex with all of them. But being able to read them, and every single time I read a woman, encounter them, just talk with them, I put it away. I file it away. All of a sudden, I can be like, boom, boom, boom. So I don't say anything lightly. And that's just one example. And I'm gonna tell you what. On the final thing, for everything I said, I was talking with someone the other day about this. The dudes who even come close to that understanding are the real players, the guys, the true top guys. They co-sign what I say. Men who've been in those environments, they co-sign what I say. You know, the players, the pimps, the gigolos, they co-sign what I say. They co-sign it. The other guys, they just ain't been there. And, you know, the guys who haven't experienced that, if you really don't want to be raising somebody else's child or have your woman cheat on you, you need to learn that. And let me incidentally, a lot of times when I talk all of this, people say, let me go overseas. I'll go overseas. Man, their game blow away women's game here. Let me say it again. Their game blows away. The Western women's game can't match what they got in some of these places some of these dudes be traveling to. Their game is on another level. And they, especially, like, let me get money out this dude. Their game's on another level. Shit. Understand that. So, anyway. That's all I have for right now. I want y'all to really think about it, man, because I'm going to tell you what. Somebody will try to say something. I lived this shit, man. And I survived this shit. And if you got a problem, don't just like write some sentence, oh, I don't believe it. Get in my motherfucking face and say what you got to say and then back it up. Because I faced death several times before the age of 10. Several times. And that lesson, surviving some shit. Trying to help some others. Alright? So, just take the lesson there. Anyway, y'all. That's all I got for now. Get back with you.